And now we're seeing it total, that's not retail to retail, that's retail to finance, right? So that's the other thing that I think locally you'll want to do is maybe have incumbent worker classes toward, what to do after you're a cashier. And people who work part-time as a cashier maybe participate in the education and training while they're working and get advanced. So there's all kinds of new ways to kind of mix and match these training for workers to get ahead models. Anything else? Okay. So there's lots more information on sector strategies. There's lots of sector strategies out there. Chances are, if you pick a new sector to create a strategy around, someone else is doing it. There's all kinds of toolkits. And what I think I like best about the progress within sector strategies nationally is they've now built really significant evaluation tools. So let's not just invest in the sector and hope it works, but what do we look at to see if this is actually working? So the second big strategy that I want to talk about was career pathways. So sector strategies and career pathways. And career pathways are, traditionally they were really about education. And most of the career pathway work is about how you build a progression of educational opportunities in order to land kind of in a career. And a lot of the career pathway work has been articulated around either, high school or a little bit post-secondary and building bridges for people to go from high school to post-secondary. So now the Career Pathways Project has really moved to beyond just the formal education process into the workers' work progress. So with this kind of work experience and education, where do I go? And so a lot of the work you'll be doing is taking existing career pathways that exist within the education field and expanding them to make them applicable to the workforce field. So aligning the skill needs of an industry, preparing an individual to be successful kind of in a more broad range, helping people have goals that are more far-reaching than just one job, aligning the education with the worker and the work. So it's not, I have to be unemployed to go to school. School doesn't become a full-time job. So it's really creating an opportunity for all the way down to the front line for an individual to understand. So that will be some of the kind of strategic planning that you will be doing and some of the actual work that will be accomplished. The other thing I wanted to point out is because I more approach workforce development from a business point of view, I wish they had focused on talent pipelines instead of career pathways. What's the difference between a career pathway and a talent pipeline?
Numbers.
Well, the question, I would say to businesses, where do you get your talent? Where do they get their talent? Where do they get their talent? Is there enough talent in the pipeline? Where does the pipeline need more talent? And I would just switch a career pathway model upside down and have the business be the driving question. So I need a pipeline of IT workers. Okay, well, what might they have been doing or what might they have been studying before? Are there workers or just college graduates? Where do you get them? What are the issues there? Then go down and down. Do they start here and move here and move here and move here? And see it maybe not just as only a college degree. So this, if you think about it, this is really what they did in healthcare. When there was a nursing shortage, they took the nurse's job and they unbundled it into about 6 different job titles. Do you remember that? So they were building a pipeline with employment stops along the way, not just 5 or 6 years of education. So it's kind of thinking that way in relationship to pipelines. And certainly looking at what other workforce boards, regions, and states around the country have done for both sector strategies and career pathways. So I just wanted to show you this one. So there is a resource here in Illinois. The Office of Community College Research Leadership worked with the College Board, State Board of Education, and the Center for Specialized Support Services, and they have created very significant cluster models. And I think they exist in 16 different, I'm on 29, 16 different, 16 different articulations essentially related to education. And I've already said the next step is to take it into the world of work. So in Rhode Island, this project that I've been working on called On-Ramps, we transitioned our career pathways into actually workforce development tools to complement them as education tools. And in that orientation I was talking about, where our first question for the participants was what was the difference between a job and a career? This is one of the resources that we hand out to individuals. And there are 16 of these in existence in Rhode Island. Healthcare, for example, has 3 different maps. They have an administrative job pathway, they have a professional job pathway in healthcare, and they have the medical patient care pathway. They've articulated all 3. And it starts with, it combines work experience with education and education levels, and it shows you progressive job titles that an individual can start and go to by combining work experience and education.
Yeah.
So it starts in the gift shop. This administrative job starts in the gift shop and helps an individual worker see what's next, what do I have to study, what kind of education do I need, what's next. And let me just give you the quotes. So when I first started the project and they were working on these, and again, I think career exploration and career planning is something that there's not a lot of time for in many of the very vibrant workforce centers. It just seems like a little bit of a lost art, and I'm hoping you, if there's a way, if you're not really kind of very invested in it, that you can do that. But let me just get the quotes. So I got this package of maps, and they said, we really want you to hand these out in the orientation. And I'm thinking, all right, well, how do I make that relevant to the people who are just considering this new program and being offered an opportunity to sign up? And the next thing I know, I find this is one of the most dynamic parts of the orientation. So these now sit on a website in Rhode Island, and each of the jobs are a link, each of the education levels are a link to where I can get that education or the occupational information for the job. So I go into the Governor's Workforce Board homepage, and I can just really be interactive and dynamic. So 95% of the participants agreed that these career pathway maps provided information on job types and education requirements that I found useful. 95%, that's the best endorsement we can get. 76 of those strongly agreed with it. But this is a beautiful thing, right? I want to show you how to get to a job in my company. I'm going to build one of these in my sector, in my industry, because my jobs might be up here, right? Okay, so the other thing, just as a quick plug, because I feel strongly about really expanding our foundation stones back into career exploration planning, 81% of participants rated career exploration activities as very useful, and another 16 as useful. And these are people that came in and said, I need a job. And we, quote unquote, sidetracked them into some career planning and some career exploration. And they found it very useful and very helpful. And I think our outcomes research will tell us that they ended up in a different position, even as an interviewer. One of the top interview questions are, where do you want to be in 5 years? This is a person that has an answer based on data and research. Okay, so I want to switch from kind of board and board roles and really, in terms of contract, to translate back down into some practical function of this local board. Get you to do a little bit of work. So I want to find out from the members that are present today, now the answer to the question at this point in time, what are the biggest challenges that employers are having around talent? Is there a shortage? Is there a shortage of talent in your region?
No. I think there's a shortage of people everybody wants a job until they get a job. That's what we have as an employer.
Our challenge is people getting to work on time, staying clean on drugs, things like that. That's the challenge that I've heard reported most often.
Soft skills and professional skills.
Essential skills, yeah.
Shortage of work ethic.
Yeah. Yes, here.
Some of them can make more money sitting at home on the backside than they can't come to work.
entry-level positions.
What, if you were to make a list of the top 3, so 42% of employers are having difficulty filling jobs. It's almost half. Right, I think that's a pretty practical issue that a workforce board would dialogue around. Would you agree? What are the problems? What are the problems that we can address with our strategy and our investment and our alignment? And let's do it. If we're not already, or let's do more of it if we have some of it already up and running, which I'm sure you do. Just so you know, Kathy's like one of the most significant go-getters I've met in a long time.
No, that's all the caffeine.
Yeah. So the other thing is this is where I get to tell the partners in the room. I work for the community college. I work for adult education. I work for vocational rehabilitation. This is where you also put on your employer hat. You are also an employer, are you not? Okay, so I'm not just coming here to be part of the solution. I'm coming here to join the conversation about what are the issues that we all share, unless you're, anybody self-employed? What, yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? It's for better or worse. I'm self-employed. I have hard meetings with my boss on some days. Envision like how much vacation I want to take, and the benefits aren't always a. Okay, so what's changed in terms of recruiting? Let me ask you that a little bit. So talent shortage is one issue. What's going on in the world of recruiting that's different?
People learn about jobs, that's definitely changed.
People, the way people learn about jobs. How so?
I don't look at the newspaper anymore. I've wasted a ton of money on newspaper ads and maybe because it's required, but nobody looks at the newspaper. You can print your job there, but nobody's gonna pick it up and look at it.
So newspaper not so hot. What else has changed in terms of recruiting? How about the hiring cycle? Shorter, longer? Quality of the candidates?
I think that, you know, I don't get to hire a lot of people, but because I have a small organization that I run, but you know, we talk about the work ethic. I haven't had any issue with work ethic with the people that I've hired. I've had trouble finding the talent. And, you know, part of my problem, I guess, is the last job that I had open was for an engineer. And it took me over a year to find a quality engineer that, you know, could really fit the role. And it really only happened by happenstance because the gentleman retired and I'm not part of a government pension system, so, you know, pieces fell into place. So it's a challenge. I went through a huge expense and a lot of effort in trying to find a candidate, and it was very difficult.
By the way, this statistic is on the rise. The lowest was in 2008 when we had the Great Recession and there were lots of workers. Only 28% of employers said they had difficulty then. So as the economy stabilizes, recovers, and starts to show growth again, our old issues are so it's cyclical. In my mind, the local board has a strategy of programs in high unemployment economies, and they know how to just transition into a different set of strategies and programs in low unemployment economy. And you make the switch as the economy starts to adjust. And the economy doesn't move fast, so you have time to sort of get in front of some of these things. All right, what do you think are the hardest jobs to fill?
Senior leadership.
Senior leadership?
Sure. How do you propose?
What else?
Skilled labor trades.
Skilled labor. All right, so this is the America's list. Top 10 hardest to fill. Skilled trade workers is number 1. Okay, let me just jump quickly to solution. One of the things that the Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act made happen is apprenticeship programs are automatically eligible training providers, and they always should have been. And The apprenticeship programs in this country have exploded. There's apprenticeship in sales. There's apprenticeship in all kinds of blue collar and white collar. It's not just for skilled trades anymore. What is apprenticeship training? Does someone describe it for me?
On-job training.
Person's working, right? Number one, they're working. What else? So, and paying taxes and getting evaluated for soft skills and hard skills. What else?
There's a known path.
There's a known path, and the education and training is structured. It pre-exists. The employer's not left to figure it out on their own. It's tried, true, tested training. What else? Apprenticeship program. There's milestone markers for the worker, which I think is an important element of education. I arrive at a level, and then I arrive at another level, and I arrive at another level. And so my earning and my learning are connected, and it keeps me motivated to do both simultaneously. It's really a very fabulous combination of work and learning, and it pre-exists, it's pre-packaged. All right, technicians, sales reps, perennially on the job. Perennially on the list. Drop to 3 this time. Sales reps are always on the list. Anybody need sales reps in Southern Illinois? All right. For some reason, oddly enough, I find very few boards that do training related to sales positions, and it's perennially on the list. This is, by the way, Manpower does a talent shortage survey every year. And this is their 2015 results.
I think one of the challenges for us as a workforce board in terms of sales is that so much of it is commission-based. And when you look at your performance and your board wants you to continue to have good performance, you need reported wage data that you can
Right.
understand and count on. And so
Right.
some of the best salaries around,
Right.
if they succeed, but not a
Right.
consistent wage.
Right. Well,
I think
this
that
is,
addresses every one of these positions up here, and that's production. You know, sales reps are paid on what they do, and we, as an employer, that's my challenge with finding someone who's
right,
willing to
right,
produce.
right. Secretaries, admin assistants, drivers, engineers, executive managers, production machine operators, finance and accounting staff, and laborers. All right, so let me see. I have the August 2015 Help Wanted summary. So one of the resources that the Illinois, I think through DES, has invested in is there's this national online company that does a study of the Help Wanted advertising, and they do print and electronic. And out of this, they produce a list of real-time demand occupations. Real-time demand occupations. So in August, in the Economic Development Region 8, there are online job ads for 732 healthcare practitioners, 560 transportation and material movers, 428 sales-related occupations, 362 office and administrative support occupations, 237 management, 209 maintenance, repair, installation. The lists are fairly conversant, would you agree? Okay, so here's some data. Let's apply it to our region and our local area, and let's see what comes out of asking the question, is talent shortage one of the main issues for employers in this community? What are the occupations that are hardest to fill, and what are some strategies we want to build around it? What do I need adult education to do? What do I need the apprenticeship program to do? How can vocational rehabilitation be aligned with producing these kinds of workers? How can the labor exchange people, the business reps and the people who do the job order, maintenance online, focus on these and make these their key occupations to work on? How can the adult dislocated worker and youth program use this information as an alignment strategy? Right? What's not on the list? Nurses. I mean, it's just not on the list, shockingly.
Teachers.
Teacher, not on the national list, but it is definitely on on the top 10 of most of the Illinois lists. Your educators, your healthcare educators, your K through 12 educators, and your post-secondary educators, lots of vacancies and lots of jobs. I think it is one of the issues in some areas of the country.
I think compensation goes back to a lot of that. And you look at secretaries, administrative assistants. I guarantee you for 50, 60,000, I can find you a Cracker Jack. But you know, when they're making 23,000 or making 18,000 a year, that's kind of what you're gonna get. You know, I mean, compensation, I think, and if you go to a big city, you go to St. Louis, you go to Chicago, you go to Louisville or someplace, those same jobs will command more money
Right,
than they will in the rural areas.
right. And if
And that's where the
I'm,
talent goes. That's where it leaks out. Your talent leaks out.
and if I'm in Chicago and I'm hiring a secretary, I'm competing with 1,000 other companies hiring a secretary. So it's macro and micro level exchange. These are the top 5 reasons employers say they're having difficulties. The first one is a little shocking to me. Nobody applies. Nada. Just nobody. This isn't even are they qualified for this is just I have a job and nobody responded.
Angela does this for a living, so I noticed she had her thumb up in the air. I couldn't tell if it was up or down.
It was down. When if you have a lack of applicants, you probably have not tried at all. I mean, usually when I have an open job, I get just so many applicants.
That's the problem around
I
here.
can't, and granted, they're not, I have to sort them and by all kinds of different levels and reasons, but there's plenty of applicants out there. I think for us, that's probably not a valid reason in this area.
I think again, it goes back to what job you're advertising, because I was advertising an engineer position,
But for
I
the
paid
thousands
12 or
of jobs in our
60,000 a
area,
year,
we have
and I
no
struggled
applicants from
to
most
get
of
applicants, and
That's a
there were virtually
normal thing.
zero
It is.
from local.
This is what they're advertising. And this is what they're not getting. This is, I mean, part of this,
They're not doing-
I don't want to get too much into procedural conversation, but sometimes employers will call on the workforce development system and list their job with us. And we can prepare someone and get them ready for an interview and help them with their resume, and they don't show up. Again, the data is saying the people aren't showing up, right? Lack of technical competencies, hard skills, lack of experience, looking for more pay, and lack of soft skills. All right, what can the workforce development system help with? What can you have as a board in your mind for strategies that we want to adopt that addresses which of those? Can you help with people showing up? Here's what's weird. Guess what happens at a job fair? People show up. Let's marshal more larger scale events and have tickets for qualified people with interviewing skills and resumes show up. And let's do lots of hiring activities in our sectors. Not gigantic, any job, any employer. But let's do one in healthcare, and let's do one in manufacturing, and let's do one in whatever, your strategies are. Can you help with technical competencies? These jobs, technical competencies for these jobs. Okay, not can you help with technical skills training. Can you help with technical skills training for whatever technical skills they need for these jobs? Can you help with lack of experience? Right, this is a business role. We need more internships. We need more work experience. We need more job shadowing. We need much more opportunity at the work site to solve this problem. This is probably one of the biggest partnership roles that will explode given some of the mandatory requirements in the workforce development program. 75% of your youth money has to be spent on work experience. That's a lot of kids doing internships in a lot of places in the region. Looking for more pay than offered? We could at least coach them while they're unemployed about what's realistic and how long it will take them to get at that salary. We can also talk to employers about, we had this strategy in one region where every 6 months there was an evaluation of potential wage scale. The employer moved it to monthly. dime a month, right? It may seem trite, but it was progress that made a difference. If I'm getting more money every month, maybe it keeps me another month, and another month, and another month. Instead of an annual salary review, is there a little more dynamic, a little more play there? Can you help with soft skills? Can the workforce development system help with soft skills? Yeah, what can you do? Hey, by the way, here's the list. Here's the employer. Send me someone who will show up, laugh at that, on time, ready to work, and can learn.
No drugs.
And
And
clean.
can learn.
And we'll come back tomorrow.
Ready to work, show up, ready to work.
I know it is.
Yeah.
I hate to say, I think this is one that we've really struggled with here. We've been talking about soft skills for 10 years in this area, and we've come up and implemented a dozen different programs to address it. And I'm just gonna be so bold as to say that the workforce system cannot change workers' soft skills. You can educate them on the appropriate way to behave and show up for work, but you can't change those behaviors. They have to do that. And it's a very difficult item, and there's lots of courses out there for it, but I think it starts a lot younger than what we do.
Yes.
Is it conceivable that the employers could be more flexible in some of their requirements? You know, show up on time. Well, what's on time? Does everybody have to be there at 7, or can some people come at 9, some people come at 6?
Nice question. Nice question, yes.
I think it also, though, in terms of behavior modification, a workplace culture needs to be cultivated with each employment area so that, I mean, your foremen, your longtime employees, they're part of the solution, or they might be part of the problem. Because if you see so-and-so always getting away with it because of some connection they have with the boss, that's got to stop. And those are the types of things that, you know, systemically running a tight ship and a sense of esprit de corps and pride in what you're doing, I think goes a long way to making sure that the new recruit is going to be like, this is kind of cool, these guys are switched on, and I don't want to look like a thug. I want to step too. And I think that's important.
Well, the majority of job openings generally are because somebody quit or somebody was fired, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, what I found when I was in my 20s and was working for other people is that those jobs were death. Then you walked into a management situation which was toxic.
Yeah.
And so, you know, again, it's about management, right? I mean, it's always about management.
High turnover positions like that might have a lot. That might be a clue for an employer that the management is really part of the problem.
Well, it's if you read the interview book, it's
Yeah.
like the number 2 question you should be asking in an interview someone. What happened to the person who was in this job last? And when they were fired, boy, you better need that job bad. Because, you know, and that's what we have in Southern Illinois, right? It's the jobs are toxic. You walk in, and the people who have good jobs never turn over anything. Right? I mean, those people were there forever. And so,
Unless my girlfriend moved to Chicago.
Oh, well, I'm done.
Then I gotta quit.
we have bad management there.
I think we have to build in more flexibility based on the realities of society. I mean, if you're a single mother needing a job, and you've got to be there at 7:30 in the morning, and the school won't even allow you to drop off your child, what are you supposed to do?
But, on the flip side of that, if I know that you have a child issue and you're to be there at 9 o'clock, I don't want you there at 9:30 or 10.
Okay.
I won't hire you.
That's
However,
Give them that option that you can be there
Well, that has to be, and in my business, I have lots of those kinds of issues and
And
work
solve a lot of
around.
our other problems, like transportation in the society, where everybody's trying to get at work at 7, and you can pull out on these interstates at 10:30 and there's nobody there.
I think the manufacturing metric in Southern Illinois is that for every job you have open, you hire 3 people. One person doesn't show up the first day of work, one person doesn't make it the first week, and that leaves you the last person to train. That's the manufacturing metric in Southern Illinois.
wow.
And so that's
Oh, wow.
what
Oh,
everyone who has
Yeah.
a plan, so don't know why that I know.
Wow.
That's our mix. Hire 3 people for every job.
But can we find out why those people aren't showing up? Other than some of them do have bad attitude, but if some of them have a sick child at home and no place to take the child,
Well,
you know, can we?
I think when you are, in a PhD educated family of Hamilton, then no one's on drugs. And if people aren't showing up for these manufacturing jobs, there are drugs. They can't come because of substance. It's not because they don't want to, it's just they can't get off it. And so they don't show up. So the people who are clean, those people have no trouble. They show up, they work, no problem, we'll keep them. But if you're manufacturing Southern Illinois, you're looking at 2/3 of the people are on something, and they just cannot come to work. It's
So we need a lot more drug rehabilitation.
Yeah.
so I mean, it's a,
But if you're looking at it from the employer's standpoint, and you hire somebody to answer the phones, and your business opens at 8 o'clock, and this young lady or young man, either one, their job is to answer the phone and take care of that stuff. Do you hire someone else to take care of that until they get there? I mean, you look, if you're an employer, I mean, or the lady that who's a single mother and has a sick child, she doesn't pick up the phone and call and say, I'm not coming, I will be late because my child is sick. They don't do that. They show up at 8:30, 9 o'clock, 10, oh, I'm here, but I gotta leave in 30 minutes to go to the doctor.
By the way, it is the same dynamic. You have all the way down if you're coaching youth sports or extracurricular things where kids don't show up, they don't call or text. One of the easier ways to contact you, nor do their parents teach that they'll have to do, and that's an issue.
We tried OJT back when, I don't know if any of you remember, they used to have OJT right after the CEDAR program. They had OJT, and we used OJT, but the paperwork was so humongous for the employer in tracking and all that kind of stuff. It almost wasn't worth it because of that.
Well, yeah, I think part of it is setting expectations, right? I mean, you have to set your expectations accurately. But when people don't show up because they're on the bottle or they're shooting up or whatever the heck they're doing, that's, it's really hard. It's a really hard situation.
Okay, so some more comments.
Some of the program's requirements, I know for adult ed in the past, it was all about numbers. Get your numbers, keep them in, that's how your funding was based.
Yes.
Some of the new outcomes are allowing us now, at least at Real Lake, we're able to say, you missed 4 days in a row and we're dropping you from the program. If you can't be here, learn and all that, so that we're teaching that responsibility from, it's the same way with a job, that if you can't be here, you can't be here. So our funding's not been hurt yet.
So I am clearly interrupting a rather fascinating discussion, am I not? No, this is board work, would you agree? That was very interesting, and we just got started on the dialogue. Okay, so that's the dynamic that a board can have. And we left it at essentially a very high level, generic discussion. But what about this data, which is national, applies to our region? In what capacity, what scope, what volume, how chronic? Is it incidental? Is it just related to where we are in our recovery? And what do we want to do about it for key sectors? Right, so I'll bring all of these strategy components together, a real practical approach. So one quick story. So first of all, I will tell you, and I mentioned it at the Illinois Workforce Partnership meeting, the project that I worked on in Rhode Island was a 3-year, fairly significantly funded innovation grant, and it was called Rhode Island On-Ramps. And we had a major component of soft skills training. We had a 30-hour classroom. It led people to work experience positions that the Governor's Workforce Board supplemented through an OJT account and made easy to get reimbursement, and they had hiring incentives. And both employers and job seekers agreed that behaviors were changed. So whatever we're doing, let's accumulate our success and build on it. Instead of we keep trying and abandoning. We keep trying and abandoning. What is the knowledge now? What are the promising practices now? And can we bring them and apply them here if soft skills are an issue? A lot of curriculum out there. We did an exhaustive search. The second thing, and I just want to tie it quickly to, is we added to our soft skills a work readiness credential, and you're about to embark on this work readiness credential. The two things that we added is you could get a work experience credential and a work readiness credential out of this program. And showing the picture of this little thing with a star on it during the orientation to the participants in the room was the most motivating thing. So their work experience credential is based on a national model. It tests you for reading, math, and locating information, and based on your scores, you get a bronze, silver, gold, or platinum award. And it's nationally recognized. Okay?
In North Carolina, a lot of employers, that is now part of their package. This is a bronze, you have to have a bronze level to start.
Right, so there's on the basic skills package. And the second thing we did, because basic skills weren't enough, is we added a classroom component for soft skills. 100% attendance, you couldn't be late, there was a dress code. We did not have people drop out. What was so astounding to me is we did not have people drop out.
I think, we've done work certified, and we've got the Jefferson County world-class workforce promise, which was work ethic, and we may be embarking on, the whole work-ready community, county, workforce area, region, whatever it might be. But it's a lot about employer. Employers have to recognize that and perhaps be willing to pay a little bit more for that. But what we don't seem to have in our region is a voice that can reach out to employers in a substantial way. So I'm hoping our workforce board can become part of that voice of educating employers about the curriculums or whatever it is that the paces that people are willing to go through to be work ready for them. But I think that's part of what's been missing. I know we've struggled with that in Jefferson County with the workforce promise too.
I mean, what would it be like to live in a regional economy where you start to say 80% of our workforce, working or unemployed, are certified work ready? Because this isn't just about the people out here. This is about your workers as well. Gaining basic skills and gaining soft skills on the job and preventing firing and misconduct discharges, right? I mean, the dynamic is really, the foundation blocks are broader than what goes on in the resource room out here, right? And so I just wanted to expand that. All right, so I liked what we were doing. I wish we could continue right now that conversation. But we started a dialogue that said, what are the top 3 HR challenges faced by, and can we summarize them? What is the cause? What are some of the possible solutions? And then translating the conversation to what do we want to do about it here? What do we want to invest in? How do we want to align and marshal our resources? How do we want to get all our core programs addressing these top issues? And then you have a really dynamic event. All right, so one more question. I'm just going to ask you to address it really quickly, but I wanted to give you this as thoughtfulness. So this is one of the last slides. Lots of details in here on some of the changes in the Workforce Investment Act, but I'm going to go all the way to having you just kind of end the meeting by thinking about and customizing your own contribution. So there's lots of different ways to contribute, and hopefully it's a mutual exchange. You feel rewarded by your participation professionally and specifically for your company, and you feel like you're making a contribution. So I worked with the board in Clovis, New Mexico. This is where Roswell is. Ooh, you should fly into Roswell. Everything in Roswell is like
UFO,
alien space storage. It's hysterical. Anyway, the workforce area goes from the southern tip of New Mexico to the northern tip of New Mexico. Picture North Dakota, South Dakota in terms of mileage. and it goes all the way into Albuquerque. Average drive time to a board meeting. Average drive time is 6 hours, one way. You can't fly, you can't take a bus, well, maybe if you had your own corporate jet. They meet monthly. They have board meetings 6 times a year, and all of the committees meet on the off months. Nobody misses a meeting. When I'm there, we work till 11 o'clock at night, which on my calendar is like a my body clock. It's at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, keep working, I'm going to bed. So why? Why is that board work that way? People retire and they stay on the board. Their board was never too big, was not an issue for them. People were, enthused and seriously committed and lined up to get appointed to this board. So what is the answer to that question for you and your board? If you had to drive 6 hours one way, would you come? And you're not done until you answer the question, yes. This is so important. This is so, I live in a fantasy world, I know. By the way, there are counties in this workforce area that have 1,200 people living there. And they're, 7,000, 8,000 square miles. This is a very rural part of the country. I call them the frontier. They're not even rural, they're frontier. But every month, and they never miss, and they're so committed. So something's going on there, isn't it? All right, so it's the aliens. It's the aliens. I did say that.
They're all aliens and they just kind of transport.
I did say that. I said, did you all get abducted to this meeting? And they work so hard. It's just freaking unbelievable. They have a fundraising goal. Every time you get reduced in funds from the federal government, that's your board's goal for raising funds. You have to replace yourself if you want to leave the board, but it's not an issue. I mean, they really make this board a central part of the workforce development system for them. And it works. There's some magic there. So we're going to have ongoing dialogues for both education purposes and operation purposes. But take a look at this. Just 2 or 3 minutes in small groups. See if you can't answer for yourself. What's your top contribution in your role as both an employer or a provider or an educator or organized labor? What's your top capacity to contribute?
Provide overnight lodge.
You use a pen, circle them, put X's and check marks next to them. I want you kind of really going from thoughtfulness to initial commitment. So, hopefully, it starts in my passion about the important work you got appointed to do. I hope you're seeing yourself be able to seize additional foundation building opportunities. We talked about some of the real new work coming up, which is strategic sector partnerships, career pathways. And there'll be a lot of work on work-based training. And now you're going to kind of leave thinking about how it is that you can expand your contribution to the board and really make sure we get the business voice, the business expertise, the business issues on our table as the primary driver. Did you have a good morning? Yes. Worth your time? Excellent. That was my job. All right. So
before we leave, Melanie, a couple things. In terms of Melanie's contribution and work with us, Pam and I are going to be working on a very short survey to send out to our respective boards. We're going to start having 4 or 5 Friday morning webinars with her. 45 minutes to 50 minutes, period, end of story. So we're kind of going to chunk some more in-depth training so people don't have to leave their desks. But we're going to need to find out from all of our board members what that training might be on. She is an expert and brings lots of resources on anything we might want to know about. So we're going to be expecting that. Pam and I will work on that next week, getting it out to all of our board members. For today, our 714 friends are going to our small conference room. Our other workforce boards are going to have a meeting at noon. We have lunch. Please, everybody, there's big half sandwiches already. There's bistro beef, there's Italian beef, there's chicken, portobello mushroom, there's salad, there's chips. So take what you need when you go down to a small conference room for there. And then partners, we're all going to get together and sing Kumbaya with Melanie this afternoon a little bit after 1 o'clock. So I hope today was valuable. Don't forget our restrooms are here. We also have public restrooms in the back. And our home is your home. Stop in our office, make a phone call, do whatever you need to do. So, and let's give a warm round of applause. Southern Illinois applause for Melanie. So it's time to eat.
Go forth and conquer.
That we can do. Thank you.
I know, it's called, I can always tell when I know.